Hello there, hi, it's Julie Reid here from Portfolio Oomph on our Thursday lunchtime questions and answers. If you've got any questions you want to ask us about your portfolios for Art College, or maybe you've got exams coming up. I know the Higher Art and Design Written exam is coming up next week. You've probably submitted all your practical drawing, painting things, but if you've got any questions about the Higher Art and Design Written exam, we can help you. If you've got anything specific you want to ask, or maybe not too specific, we don't know every painting in the world here. But I wanted to just talk to you about this exam and the preparation that you can do for it. You'll be aware of the different questions that you'll be asking, and the idea really is that you're being asked about your general knowledge of art and design in relation to images, artworks that you've not seen before. But then there's the chance to talk about a specific painting or piece of artwork, piece of design work that you have seen before, something that you're very familiar with, which is worth 20 points. And for you to then interpret that based on the questions that you won't have seen, but some of it remains the same every year. So just really to talk a little bit about the kind of planning that you can do for your exam, if that's coming up next week. And I think really it's that thing of being organised, thinking about the research that you're doing in relation to the questions. You'll have been given some guidance by your teachers about the kinds of things that you'll be expected to learn about. You'll have talked about the different visual elements, line, colour, tone, composition, all sorts of things, form. Can't think of them all in front of me just now. But you'll have talked about the different visual elements that make up paintings and sculptures and pieces of design. You'll be talking about function, target market. And I think it's really important that when you're doing your research about these pieces of artwork, you're putting down a clear structure about how it relates to these different aspects. Writing or getting down in your notes, this is for the seen piece of work, the piece of work that you've been able to study, is making sure that you can pinpoint interesting aspects of as many of the different elements of the painting or the pieces of sculpture, whatever it is you've chosen, design work, so that you can cover as much ground as you can do, and being kind of interrogating the kinds of statements that you're making too. So when you're making statements about your artworks, not being too general, can you unpick particular words that you're using? Can you unpick the statement as what it is you're saying, so that you're elaborating? And I'm not talking about elaborating for the sake of it, being fluffy and using language that's unnecessary and writing for the sake of writing, but rather than writing a very kind of clear-cut statement, thinking about how the words that you're writing can be explored more. So if you're talking about the materials, the use of certain materials, how do those materials respond? How is it to use oil paint? What kind of techniques can you use with oil paint? What kind of techniques do you think the artist has used? If they've been using oil paint, have they been using brushes? Have they been using sponges? Have they been using a palette knife? What's the texture of the paint? Talk about technique, and maybe it's about the speed of painting. A fast mark against marks that have been done very meticulously and slowly are going to have a different energy. So when you're writing about how you feel an artist has made a painting, obviously you do as much research as you can do to find out how they've made the painting. But a certain amount of it's, I suppose, up to interpretation as well, and you can see from the paint texture, particularly in an artist like Frank Auerbach, where you're looking at the paint and you can see that it's been put on with a palette knife. You can see it's very rough and it's maybe been done quite quickly. So talking about materials, technique, talking about line and form, colour. We talk a lot about colour, and what colour can mean, the symbolic meanings of colour, not necessarily just about, intensity in the hue and the luminosity, but you can talk about, you know, the feeling of colour. You know, does blue, we've talked a bit with a student this morning about the colour blue. What does the colour blue signify? It can be a very cold colour, but it can also be emotionally, you know, in the blues as in, you know, the music, the blues. It can be quite a sort of sad colour. And I think just to make sure that when you're doing your research and if you're making statements about very simple aspects, elements of a piece of artwork, is to make sure that you're exploring it and explaining it, because I think that's where the marks lie, when you're doing your art and design exams. We've also talked a bit about with students about the social and cultural aspects of painting, you know, how the painting and how the artist was working in relation to his peers, her peers, you know, with other artists. What's the kind of art movement that the artists are working in? So it could be contemporary artists, it could be impressionists, cubists, it could be artists from any period, but to know a little bit about that era, what was happening in that era. That's the kind of cultural aspects. But if you think about the social aspects too, you know, when was that artist making that piece of work? What was happening in society? What was happening? Were there wars? Was it a time of you know, depression in terms of financial? Was it a very poor time, or was it, you know, the heady kind of 70s when it was all, you know, flower power and excitement? You know, to be aware of what's happening in society and culture is part of the exam question for the higher art and design, and to know a little bit about that and what impact that has on the artwork, and is it relevant to the artwork, is something that you know, should be able to talk about and have an opinion on. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to just try and give you a little bit of confidence before, I think it's Wednesday, this higher art and design exam. So there'll be students all over Scotland sitting down to write about pieces of art and design. I remember I found it quite difficult. We had to do a slide test when we were at art college. This was not at school. We were shown various slides in a lecture theatre, and we had to write down various pieces of information. It was all quite factual information. I don't remember there being that much interpretation, but I think there probably was. I did appalling, absolutely appalling, and I remember it brought down my dissertation grade from, I think, an A to a D, based on this slide test. So that kind of just shows you how much I prepared for it, how much I understood about what I was supposed to be doing. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of insight into what you can be doing before Wednesday, is to really prepare. And if you don't know how to prepare, I think that was a big downfall of mine at school. I didn't know how to revise. I just sat there and read the book and got really bored through most subjects, and then thought that was enough, forgot most of it, and did really bad. I didn't do very well at school. I got what I needed, and then I went to art college and got what I needed there too. But I don't think I was very well prepared, and I don't think I was very well, we hadn't really been told about sort of study skills and how to prepare for exams and assessments and things like that. So having said that, yeah, get as prepared as you can. You know, spend the weekend. I know it's Thursday, exams Wednesday, but do your research. Find some paintings that you know you can write plenty about, or pieces of design work. For the piece that you're able to write, to see beforehand, make sure that you've found some work that you're able to cover all these areas, like, you know, composition, social and cultural aspects. You know, maybe it's about colour, maybe it's about the materials and techniques, but try and find something that you feel is, you know, offers lots of scope. Because if you're really struggling to write, you know, you're not going to do well at all. If you're struggling to find what to write about, then yeah, you're going to really struggle with the exam. I don't really want to say this, but I'm going to. If you feel you need some support, it's Thursday. I don't have a huge amount of time before Wednesday next week. But if you are really struggling and panicking, please get in touch. We can do something on Monday or Tuesday next week before the exam on Wednesday, if you feel you're in that position and you kind of just don't know what to do. Say I could meet up for an hour or two on Monday or Tuesday. So please get in touch if you're feeling like that. If you need some support, get in touch. But if anybody's got any questions, just here, just now, you can write them in the box, in the comments box. So I'll hang on just a second or two and see if we get any questions. I can see Aru's watching. Hi. Are you in Dubai? Where are you? No, you're not in Dubai. Can't remember where you are. Saudi, that's it, not Dubai. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments coming up. But if you do have some comments, or if you've got any questions that you want to ask, I'm not going to be here obviously all day, but I will check in and out Facebook. I'll record this and post it on the page after we've finished recording. And if people want to leave any questions on the video afterwards, I will get back to you when I see the comments. But listen, I hope this finds you well and you are doing okay at school, you're getting through the exams. I know in Scotland many exams have been and gone, there's just a few left next week and possibly the following week. But I hope you're doing okay, and I hope you're getting there, and I hope you get out to enjoy some sunshine too, because it's beautiful again here in Scotland. We're having a bit of a heat wave. I'm hoping it's going to last. But yeah, get out in the sun and have some fun as well. Not too much revision. Okay, and I will catch you next time, this time next week. Okay, thanks.